What's up, YouTube? It's Coach Cory. Today we're going to go over the top 10 best brawlers for Brawl Ball. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so I've been wanting to start a top 10 series for a while. Who really wants to know the worst brawlers? The most interesting part is figuring out who the best brawlers are and why. So I'm going to do top 10 brawlers for various different game modes, and we're starting out with Brawl Ball. Now I'm just doing an overall ranking for Brawl Ball, so this includes how brawlers do on each of the 3 maps combined. Now I actually did an individual ranking of the brawlers on each of those 3 game modes, and I'll show that here. You can screenshot if you want, but today we're just going to go over the overall ranking for the top 10 brawlers in overall Brawl Ball. Now first, I'm going to say my honorable mentions for not making the top 10 but are still decent brawlers in Brawl Ball. It's going to be Barley and Dynamite. They're both really good on triple dribble, but elsewhere not so much, so they're not going to make it into the top 10. Alright, starting out at number 10, the 10th best brawler in Brawl Ball, it's gonna be Brock. And really, this is probably not that much of a surprise. Brock is just a really good brawler in general right now. He's probably in the tops, even higher in a bunch of other game modes. Brawl Ball's not really his best mode though. He's really best in long range, and the amount of corridors is not really as well suited for Brock. It's a little bit more well suited for a lot of mid-range brawlers. Brawl Ball is not a very long-range game mode, but Brock still has really good stats. He's still able to break down walls. He can still be one of the best long-range brawlers for Brawl Ball. He's not going to be the best, though, on this rank. Brock's best maps are going to be Backyard Bull and Pinhole Punt. And in this current meta in Brawl Ball, where there's a lot of mid-range brawlers, Brock can get a good amount of hits in while staying at range. He's maybe not the best defender, as if you miss any shots, all of a sudden you're in a lot of trouble if someone's really close to you or the goal. But otherwise, Brock can be a pretty solid overall brawler, especially on those 2 maps. Next up, at number 9, it's going to be Jessie. Jessie's actually pretty decent in Brawl Ball. Definitely not good on triple dribble, but on Backyard Bull and Pinhole Punt definitely has her use. Especially in this mid-range meta, Jessie's turret can have situations where it's hard for the enemy team to take out. If they don't have that long-range brawler or perhaps a thrower, they might not have the damage per shot to really take out Jessie's turret, especially if you have her star power. That, combined with people grouping up a decent amount in Brawl Ball, allows Jessie to get some bounce shots. So Jessie's overall damage is actually going to be pretty good in Brawl Ball compared to other game modes. She's not the most reliable in terms of damage when it's really needed, as she does a low amount of damage per shot. So if there's a tank in her face or a mortis in her face, it's going to be hard for Jessie to deliver. But overall, Jessie's a pretty good support brawler in Brawl Ball. It can definitely help your team keep control of the map or get control when needed. Moving on to number 8, it's going to be El Primo. El Primo, probably the best tank in Brawl Ball. He used to be one of the kings in Brawl Ball, but not so much anymore. But he's still one of the best offensive options in Brawl Ball. As a ball carrier, El Primo can hold on to the ball really well, and then he can also pass the ball forward, and with his super, he can make a really good chance to score at the goal, not only breaking down walls, pushing enemies away from him, and getting a clear shot at the goal, as long as no one is standing right in front of him. So he's a pretty good offensive option. Not many have that ability to make that quick impact on offense. He's a little bit weak on defense. Obviously, his range is not very good. And on the other side of the coin, he can tend to give the enemy a lot of their supers, and he gives easy shots overall. But as an offensive presence, El Primo is definitely a pretty good in that regard. So he's not to be underrated. He's a little bit better on triple dribble than some of the other maps, but he's still a decent overall option. And if you have a good team comp around him, he can work pretty well. Now, at number 7, it's going to be Colt. Colt is going to be one of the best damage dealers, especially from range in Brawl Ball, that you're going to find. He's maybe not that great on triple dribble, but on Backyard Bull and Pinhole Punt, he can definitely work pretty well. He's a really good as a long-range option that can break down walls and deal a lot of damage. He's not going to be your guy who's going to counter Mortis, but otherwise he can do pretty well, and he can match up well by keeping distance with his range, as he is going to outrange most of the brawlers he faces with the exception of Brock and maybe Jesse to a degree. But Colt has the ability to put a lot of pressure, and his super is really good in Brawl Ball, as he can use it to not only target people but also break down walls at the same time. It's not going to get him a lot of damage, but that utility of breaking down walls while also pressuring the enemy is a definitely really valuable super in Brawl Ball. Alright, coming in at number 6, it's gonna be Mortis. Mortis finally makes his appearance on the list. Now, Mortis is a hard ranking for me because, to me, Mortis is one of those brawlers that has a really high skill cap. So if you're a really good Mortis, a top Mortis, you could probably make the argument that he's top 5. If you're not, if you're a bad Mortis, or if you're a mediocre Mortis, you could probably make an argument that he's barely top 10. So to me, Mortis is a hard one to rank, and it does happen too where Mortis can be hard countered. For instance, you face a team that's Poco, Shelly, Nita, and you have Mortis, that Mortis is going to have a really hard time unless his teammates carry. But overall, Mortis is probably the best offensive option as far as pure individual offense. Mortis has the most potential to score goals by himself, and that is going to be true regardless probably throughout Brawl Ball's existence. Just obviously that dash gives him a really long range for traveling across the map. He's the fastest, most mobile brawler in the game, and that's really, really good in Brawl Ball. To me, Mortis can be pretty hit or miss. It definitely depends on the enemy team comp that you're facing, but if you like quick games, Mortis is your guy. Alright, coming in at number 5 is one of the best overall brawlers in the game. It's gonna be Spike. Spike is just so strong in general right now. He has really good stats. He does a lot of damage. He has decent area control. Spike fits a lot of good roles in Brawl Ball. He can be your damage dealer guy, and he can also double a little bit as some area control. He can shoot around walls to stop them from healing, and he can use his super either defensively or offensively to make it hard for someone to score or make it hard for someone to stop you from scoring. People do tend to group up a decent amount in Brawl Ball. Spike can really take advantage of that, and also he tends to do pretty well in this meta in Brawl Ball. He tends to fare not as well versus really long-range brawlers that can out-damage him from range, and he doesn't tend to face those in Brawl Ball that much. So Spike is a good option, and he's good on pretty much every map in Brawl Ball. So regardless where you play him, he is pretty good. His main weakness in Brawl Ball is that he doesn't break down walls. The ability to break walls is definitely key. So if you run Spike, you probably want a different brawler on your team who can break down walls in his stead. Alright, then at number 4, it's probably the best overall brawler in the game. It's gonna be Poco. Poco is definitely a really strong option in Brawl Ball. He would be even higher, except Poco is not the best on triple dribble. Poco is really good on backyard bull and pinhole punt though. So if you are on those two maps, I would definitely recommend playing Poco. He's just really strong overall. He can hit multiple brawlers, and people, as I said, do tend to group up in Brawl Ball, and his super can be used really well offensively to make a really strong push, and also to save you in any situation where you need that heal to keep you and your teammates alive. Poco's just a good support brawler, good overall. He has a lot of health. He's hard to kill. His main weakness is that he doesn't do a lot of damage per shot, so if there's a tank coming in on Poco, it's going to be hard for him to deal with that tank without help from his teammates. He can get a lot of hits in, but it's going to be hard for him to get that kill. Oh yeah, and of course Poco also doesn't break walls. Now at 3, it's going to be my favorite Bearmaster. It's Nita. Nita is a really, really solid pick in Brawl Ball on whatever map you're playing, especially on triple dribble. Nita is great at shooting around all those walls in Brawl Ball. There's a lot of walls in Brawl Ball that Nita can take advantage of, using them at her fullest extent by just shooting at the maximum range. It's not a very long one, but it works really well in Brawl Ball because there's not a really open map in general. So a lot of times Nita can use those walls to pressure enemies and chip shot around them and just spend a lot of time dealing damage to the enemy. And Nita has a high amount of health too, so if Nita gets close to you, Nita can definitely take you out. If you're not prepared, you're not going to be able to team kill Nita. On top of that, Nita's bear can definitely be good for making those strong pushes. It's going to force the enemy team to waste shots on the bear, and at the same time, it's going to give you another 6,000 health or so on the field that the enemy has to deal with while you are attacking them as well, and your team pushes up as a unit. In general, Nita's just a really annoying brawler to to deal with, is hard to kill, and does a decent amount of damage, has a really fast reload speed, is able to use those walls really well. Nita's not a very flashy brawler, but is a very annoying one to face. Alright, at number 2, the second best brawler in Brawl Ball, it's gonna be Shelly. Shelly is definitely a staple in Brawl Ball. As a shotgunner, Shelly works really well for some of the really strong offensive threats like Mortis and like El Primo and any other tank. Shelly is going to counter them really well. On top of that, with those walls in Brawl Ball, Shelly can use it to her advantage to hide behind them and heal up and be in a really dangerous for the opponent close range situation. On top of that, Shelly's super is also great in Brawl Ball. It can, of course, break down a good amount of walls, and it also does a lot of damage, on top of stunning the enemy and potentially slowing them as well if you have her super. So this can definitely be useful in a defensive situation if you need to stop a goal, and it's also really useful in an offensive situation where you want to break down walls, open up a path for your teammate to score, and as well knock back enemies and deal a decent amount of damage to them. So Shelly's going to be a strong option on whatever map you play in Brawl Ball. She's definitely my number 2 brawler. Alright, going on to the number 1 brawler in Brawl Ball. If you haven't guessed it, it is Tara. Now, Tara just has the ability to be so good, of course, and it is because of her super. Tara's super is just in general a really strong threat in the game. It can be really useful defensively or it can be really useful offensively, and sometimes just having that super as Tara is going to put the fear in the enemy. It's going to make them not want to group up. It's going to make them want to stay back from you as well as the Tara. But people do tend to group up in Brawl Ball, and it gives Tara the opportunity to super 2 or even 3 people and deal a lot of damage and put a lot of pressure on the enemy and really allow Tara's team to get closer to the goal and maybe get a goal as well. Now, Tara's super does break down walls a little bit, which can definitely be useful. So if you can get that value of the wall and someone else, it's always really good with Tara. But on top of that, her super works really well on defense as well. If there's someone who's trying to come in and score, you can super them and pull them away from the ball, make them drop it, and then you can go in for the kill, or at the least, you can stall them. Now, Tara's not quite as strong on triple dribble, but on backyard bull and pinhole punt, Tara is definitely one of the best options to go with. And even on triple dribble, she's still pretty useful. You can't underrate her even there. Alright, well, those are going to be my top 10 brawlers for Brawl Ball. Let me know down below in the comments what game mode I should do top 10 brawlers for next and what you thought of today's ranking video. Alright, everyone, that's going to be it for my brawler ranking for Brawl Ball. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.